Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I am John Palacio.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar, and thank you for joining us this morning.
It is a Friday, and we're starting our mornings right. With all energy and all the nice weather outside. And Michael Gentle is on the line, though. I feel he's on the line. Which button you normally press? Ah, there you go. There you go.
The one that says answer.
Oh, my goodness. Mike Gentle, good morning, sir.
Morning.
And how are you today?
I'm doing okay.
Excellent. I'll tell you what, we'll do okay when you tell us what the general situation is going to be.
We expect generally fair and warm conditions will continue for the next few days.
All right, excellent. And in the 24-hour forecast?
Mostly sunny today, partly cloudy tonight. Showers or thunderstorms generally isolated.
All right, nice. And what about our winds?
Okay, we expect east to southeast winds 10 to 20 knots. We're expecting that winds could become a bit more gusty as you venture out to sea, so we have a small craft caution in effect. Moderate seas could become a bit more rough as you go further out to sea.
All right, so while we've got some gusty winds coming up, it simply means that we're going to have some cool temperatures, right?
No, temperatures continue warm, relatively warm. 87 along the coast, 96 inland, and 84 in the hills. We still maintain the heat advisory for inland areas.
Okay.
Temperatures for tonight, 81 along the coast, 75 inland, 70 at the higher elevations.
All right, you went there with an advisory, small craft caution in effect, you said, right?
Yeah.
All right, so what about our extended forecast then?
The extended forecast, we're likely to maintain isolated showers, but we could see the afternoon thunderstorms developing over the mountains for tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh, wow. You know, a lot of people will be venturing out, probably out west, down south, up north. So you might get 1 or 2 rain here and there.
Just isolated afternoon thunderstorms, basically over the mountains, over the high elevations.
All right. Well, forecaster Mike Gent, thank you so very much, sir.
Okay, welcome.
All right, there you go. So now we know what's going to happen for the weekend. We still advise, or they still advise for you to make sure that you're consuming your water. It's still relatively going to be hot out.
Hot.
Yeah, so folks, you should take heed of this. Seriously, out there is hot every hour. Try again a glass of water, man. You hear me, Judge? Try again a glass of water every hour, man. Just every hour, and it's going to be okay.
All right, we're going to keep
It is Friday,
Mom. It is Friday. This felt like a very long week.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why though. Like it just dragged on, but we're here, and let that be our focus for today.
You know, I was thinking about this. I think that we really have had a very eventful time for the past 2 weeks. It's almost like every week there is something changing, something different. And this is perhaps one of the most regularized weeks. We started in the same place and seem to be ending in pretty much the same place. And maybe that's why, I don't know, but it just felt really long. Nonetheless, it's a long weekend.
It is a long
so
weekend.
Something great to look forward to.
That's right.
But before we chit-chat anymore, of course, we got to get into some motivation. And that means it's time for our Eye Opener. Our Eye Opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. To label yourself good or bad is to think too small. There's no such thing as a good person or a bad person. There are choices and actions that lead us in different directions. And it is through those choices and actions that we create our realities. Sometimes we choose or do something that takes us in the opposite direction of the reality we want to create for ourselves. When we do this, we feel bad, uneasy, unhappy, unsure. We might go so far as to label ourselves bad when a situation like this arises. Instead of labeling ourselves, though, we could simply acknowledge that we made a choice that led us down a particular path, and then let it go, forgiving ourselves and preparing for our next opportunity to choose and act in ways that support our best intentions. What you are is a decision maker, and every moment provides you the opportunity to move in the direction of your higher self or in the direction of stagnation or degradation. In the end, only you know the difference. If you find yourself going into self-judgment, try to stop yourself as soon as you can and come back to center. Know that you are not good or bad. You are simply you.
My gosh. I'm going to walk away again with this paper today. This is what life has in store for us. And it's just unfortunate that for the most part, one of the things that we do is say, man, I'm a bad person. Or man, you know what? I'm a good person. It's the route that you choose. It's where you feel you should dwell. It's where you feel you should dwell. But at the same time, should you? I love the words of the eye opener. When we might go so far as to label ourselves bad when a situation like that arises. Look, in all these situations, Marlene, you learn new things, and this is where I'd like a lot of people to focus on what you learn from a situation. I always say, they don't have no bad situation, and I say that because it is a learning thing. Yeah. I feel when you refer to a situation as bad, you simply, to me, this is just to me, right? I feel when you label a situation as bad, it's like you're disrespecting the educational aspect of it. I feel that's where you should look. What did I learn from it? Yeah. What can I take away from it? How can I show people that these things that I consider to be bad are actually good, and this is what I could teach you? Yeah. This is just how I feel about the eye opener. This is a really good one and a really good way to start the weekend.
This reminds me so much of a book, a specific author, Brene Brown, and she talks a lot about this. And I think that the key message is or self-talk, what we say to ourselves. Yeah. I think we all collectively say, oh, we're our own worst critics, we're our hardest on ourselves.
We say that.
And I say it all the time. Yeah. And so, I don't know how many people actually walk around saying, oh, I'm a good person, and really believe it. I think we are far more likely to be chastising ourselves, telling ourselves how horrible we are because we've done something that we're not happy with. We've made a choice that we didn't like. Yeah. Maybe we can't break a habit. Yeah. Maybe we find ourselves in a cyclical situation and it frustrates us and we just beat up on ourselves all the time. And I always remember, actually she has a TED Talk which makes it a lot simpler, but when she talks specifically about talking with your children. And instead of, allowing people to move into that self-fulfilling prophecy of saying, well, you're bad, so you're gonna be bad, you're just bad. We tell children that all the time.
All the time.
We talk about children like that in front of them. Oh, that one, he bad. He turn out just like this one or that one. And the kids are listening, we say it to them, and if you grow up believing that, what else are you going to do when you're confronted with choices? Yeah. And I think it's the same thing we do as adults. We make bad choices. We are human. Life is tough, and we can't always get it right. But let's say I forgot your birthday, and I will beat up on myself all day long. I'm such a horrible person. Why did I not? I sat next to John all day. I didn't even acknowledge it. I didn't notice everybody was hugging him. And I could feel horrible. I could tell myself I'm a bad person, but I just made a bad choice. I had a moment where I wasn't able to acknowledge what was happening, and it makes a huge difference when you say, I did a bad thing versus I am a bad person. Yeah, yeah. And it really can, I think, completely shift how you feel about a situation.
Yeah. Like we mentioned, there's so much we could take away from the eye opener. And finally, we don't want for you to label yourself as a bad person or a good person. As a matter of fact, the eye opener actually concluded by saying, it concludes by saying, know that you are not good or bad. You are simply you. Any situation that you're in, whether you consider it to be good or you consider it to be bad, you're actually learning from it. And that is the biggest aspect of things, that you learn. And when you learn, you actually pass it on to others because you've got your peers. That's how I feel about the eye opener. And by the way, you did play like you forget my birthday, just to say.
Yeah,
But you didn't.
But I did it deliberately because it's April Fool's.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, what point would it be for me to walk in and say just happy
Yeah,
birthday,
happy birthday,
on April
John.
Fool's?
Yeah, that's
I gotta
true,
fool
that's
you a
true.
bit.
You did. It was a good one. Woo. But we've got a wonderful show lined up for you. Very, very, very wonderful one lined up for you. It is a fun Friday, by the way, but at the same time, we try our best to teach you, and you learn from what we've got to offer. We'll be tackling in the first segment for this morning the Port Loyola expansion project. We'll have the folks in to tell us all about it.
All right, and the second part of the show, we've been saying it over and over again, and we will keep on talking about this topic so that we can help as many people as possible. There's a lot of different emotions that we're experiencing in this pandemic, and it can give rise to quite a few mental health challenges. So we're going to have Jenny checking in with us and broke it down with Jenny about how to cope.
You know, we love sitting down with Jenny. Yeah. In the third segment for this morning, I remember back in primary school, I did go up for the Festival of Arts, and I was actually Papa Curly and the Palacio Papa Curly. I don't remember. It's Samudi Guyo. That was the name of the song. But we've got folks coming in to talk about the National Festival of Arts 2020. Well, of course, they're up on the TV, but you know what we mean. You know what we mean. They'll be talking to us about the National Festival of Arts 2020.
That's right. They're getting really innovative. They're still giving the children an opportunity to showcase their talent.
Yes.
And they're doing so virtually. So we're going to get all the details about that. And don't forget, you want to get the kids in front of the television for the end of the show because we have another edition of Kids Time brought to you by J&W Shopping Mart. Of course, Dr. Binox has been taking us on a tour of the wonders of the universe.
Sweet.
And today, the kids are going to find out about comets. So that's what we're going to be closing off with. You can look forward to that today and every day at the end of the show.
Definitely. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're about to take a break, but just before we do that, we want to give a big, big happy birthday shout out to none other than Dylan Williams. D, happy birthday to you, my buddy. I'm going to give to you the final 2 words to you. And not only you celebrating a birthday today, we also have Joshua Ruiz.
Josiah.
He's turning, Josiah. Josiah? Yes, Josiah. Josiah Ruiz. 3 years old today. I know, right? I know.
That's such a sweet age.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him. He ride a bike though. He ain't go on good. But happy birthday to you, baby, and wishing you all the very best coming from all of us here at Channel 5 and all of us right here on Open Your Eyes.
All right. And now we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll get our conversation started. So please stay tuned.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. It is a fun Friday and we're looking forward to all the fun, and we do hope that you are as well. We're now moving into our first segment for the morning. It is actually our COVID update, of course, and we've got the Port Loyola expansion project to chit-chat about, but we've got the folks in to talk to us about it as well. We actually have Dione Chamberlain, who is the social engagement liaison for the Port Loyola expansion project, and we have Luis Munoz. I'm going to keep it there. He is actually the president of the Piedroba Consulting Group. Hey, Luis, I'm trying here. I'm trying.
I appreciate that. No worries. You did a great job.
Guys, good morning, and it's so nice to have you in with us.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us as well.
Excellent, excellent. Now we know that there is a buzz about this project that's going on, that's going to take place, or that should take place. So let's jump on into it. We want for you to tell us firstly about the project.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. And we're really excited to be able to talk about the project because we realize that there's a lot of speculation in the public, and we haven't been able to release the ESIA yet. But when that occurs, then we will be able to have everybody see the reality. But in the meantime, we're hearing a lot of things, and we just want to make sure that the facts come out. I want you to first of all realize that we're calling this project the Port Loyola Gateway to Commerce and Culture. And the reason why we're saying this is because it's not only about a cruise terminal, it is actually a cruise terminal and an expanded cargo port, which we believe will bring value to agricultural, mineral, and the construction sectors. And of course, it's also important to make a point that this isn't like a resort port. This is a port which brings in visitors to Belize, and immediately you get to go out and experience Belize. So that's why we're calling it a gateway. And of course, amidst this COVID-19 reality, this really has shown us that Belize really needs some GDP diversification. And really the marriage of a bulk handling port and a cruise port is essential for us at this time.
I'll tell you what, it sounds very amazing, and I think this is definitely for a lot of people. Whenever there's a new venture out, it spells a lot for the country. It spells a lot, especially for that particular community. But what about the environment?
Again, one of the things that I want you to realize is the environment is so important to this project because cruise tourism comes to Belize for the environment. And so we need to make sure that that is kept pristine. But I want you to realize that the team has done an unprecedented level of detailed site investigations. There have been a lot of background studies, and it's taken over 2 years to design, study, and analyze to create a plan that actually conforms to the highest environmental standards. And the parties that are involved, the Jean Denul Group and the Piedroba Consulting Group, these are experts in this area. And although we don't have the information to share yet until the ESIA is released. And we're looking for that very shortly so that the public can look at it. But before we make decisions about the project in terms of the science, I'd really like for people to be able to look at that document, realize that our Department of Environment and the NEAC are doing an exceptional job of reviewing these documents. So they take a very long time to get done. But once it is in the hands of everybody, we will have that full public consultation. We are meeting with the science and the conservationists within the country very soon again for a secondary meeting. But I want to pass that over to Luis because, Luis has done work for the OAS, for World Bank, for many different organizations, and this is his field, and protecting the environment is his love. So Luis, go ahead.
Thank you, Dion. As Dion said, and to echo that slightly, the health of the Belizean ecosystem, especially that surrounding our facility, is an absolute priority for this project. And that's the stance that we took when we first scoped the site investigations, which, as Dion mentioned, are world-class, and an unprecedented level of depth was undertaken during those site investigations. We started them at the beginning of 2018, and they're still ongoing. So that tells you that we have looked at this project from every angle that we have been able to look at it from. So with a mind towards environmental preservation, the first and most important thing to consider is the siting of the property that's to be developed. And as my firm has overseen billions of dollars of infrastructure development in marine environments, and the one thing that is resounding that ensures the preservation of that environment from the get-go of the project is siting it in an existing and disturbed facility, which the Port of Belize, as everyone knows, is a previously dredged facility. It is sited in an area that was built out of reclaimed sea bottom. And by by choosing a location like that, you avoid disturbing what would be otherwise pristine or virginal habitats. So for example, there are no primeval mangrove forests, there are no fronting reefs, there are no seagrass beds in the area that we intend to excavate and use the port. So that is a major consideration when approaching this. Beyond that, the main focus that we have had in going through these environmental studies was to make sure that everything that we did was fully studied and understood, meaning that the material that we are to excavate is non-toxic, that the E. coli, the heavy metals, the PAHs, all of those levels are below the threshold standards, both for Belize and also international standards. In fact, I believe that the majority of the standard thresholds that we observed, if not all of them, was Canadian, Northern European standard. So the truth is that the material is extremely inert for the most part, and that we are primarily excavating new material, which means that it's been untouched by any sort of introductions from the outside world. So that is a hugely positive element of what it is that's being undertaken. Beyond that, we made sure to have a very specific view towards the local science. So we undertook a very exhaustive consultation effort to make sure that we were bringing in all of the expertise that Belize has as far as the environmental and engineering field. And so we vetted quite a few environmental professionals, and our EIA has included the input from a number of environmental firms located in Belize. And I think that will show once we have the opportunity to publish. A final note is that the channel itself that we're developing and the area that we've cited, we've now found that this is a really long-term positive area. The original port was dredged in 2001, and we found that there has been minimal shoaling. There's been no impact to navigation, which is exactly what an international port operator wants to look at, because long-term maintenance is tedious and it's potentially difficult to continuously do. So therefore, a port that doesn't shoal is a really positive development. So that's the way we've looked at it, a very holistic approach to our environmental mitigation. Yeah. And we've I feel produced a world-class report that has assessed all the impacts of this project and has ensured that our impact is non-existent.
Let me just backtrack for a bit, Dion, because it's important to be able to understand what phase we are in right now. You have spoken about the project and what you hope to be able to, or what the investors hope to be able to achieve, but at this point, it hasn't been approved. It's before government.
No, not yet.
Explain to me where we are, where the company is at this point.
Well, we're at the stage right now, like Louis mentioned, where we've done that broad consultation with the multiple environmental professionals, and we're looking forward to be able to releasing that ESIA portion. Yeah. The ESIA needs to go to the Department of the Environment, yes, where they review it completely to see that we meet the economic, the social, and the environmental aspects. Mm-hmm. So right now, they're looking at that, and they've actually rejected it twice. And we are now looking at the third iteration because they are very thorough in looking through everything and pointing out where the areas that we can mitigate can be looked at. And so we're now submitted our final draft. That draft is actually being reviewed. And once that is agreed on by the DOE as ready for public consumption, they will return it to us. And then we have a 60-day countdown period where we put it in the field, the public area, and we're actually able to then move to a public consultation. What I love about this group, however, is that we've done multiple discussions with the environmental professionals in Belize, and we now need to move to the point, and we've promised them that we'll take them to see the ESIA. They prefer to see everything before they make a decision. I want you to realize that we have received, on the environmental perspective, there's been only one single source that has been providing rebuttals towards what we're doing. We need people to remain open-minded to listening to the mitigation and the science at this stage until when everything has been produced, because as the DOE speaks to us and before it gets to the NEAC position, we will be making shifts and changes.
Yeah.
And the only single objection that we received so far has been iState Bank's contracted expert, Pepe Garcia, and he was hired to do this rebuttal. So we understand that. And we advise that Mr. Garcia wrote the initial EIA for this project. So he's very well aware and had submitted an application to tender for this one. But at this point, he wasn't the vendor of choice. And maybe we need to realize that listen to what is going on right now until we've done the ESIA.
So
we go to that level. And then as you question, the next step is where the government of Belize would be signing an MOU for both things, because we need an MOU for the cruise and we need a MOU for the bulk handling and cargo facility.
Now, you're very well aware that when there are massive development projects being put forward, people often get very concerned about the environmental impact. When you say that the previous environmental studies have been rejected twice, what can you say seems to be the major area of concern, and what shifts have been made as a result of that in this latest submission? Yes,
they're not rejected per se. I mean, they have comments and questions and clarifications that they need us to make. But I'll let Louis go ahead and answer that. So it's not a rejection. It's just a process of reviewing that the DOE does naturally with every project that they do, because they're very thorough. But Louis, go ahead and answer this one.
So thank you, Dion. And as Dion said, I think rejection might have been an inopportune choice of word. It's the draft process, which is the very first stage of undertaking an EIA, and that's true in Belize, it's true in pretty much any jurisdiction. The environmental authority is given the opportunity to review it and ensure that the document conforms to the terms of reference that they produced. In our case, there were a few comments about primarily restructuring of elements or incorporating additional background information. So in order to satisfy the terms of reference more thoroughly. The vast majority of comments that we received in the first and second revisions were really focused on either redrafting or expounding on a comment or on an area which they felt for that audience or for their reviewers needed a bit more information. Yeah. No element of the EIA was rejected at any stage. All of the mitigations and approaches to the project were all found to be completely satisfactory. So really the commentary we received was more so in the way of edits and, shall we say, exposition of data more so than anything to do with the substance of the actual study. And it is worth noting that this study was being performed to two different standards. Obviously, there's the national standard, which is an extremely important step towards authorization. By that I mean your national DOE standard, which has, for what it's worth, an extremely exigent set of parameters that you need to satisfy. And it's actually among the most thorough we've seen in the region. But beyond that, for a variety of reasons, we are also pursuing a report that is satisfactory to both World Bank and IFC performance standards. These are a very exigent set of criteria that these organizations require projects to meet in order to receive funding from those entities. And that, in many regards, is considered by the industry to be the most exigent international set of EIA and ESIA standards.
So this request for further clarification or for more information, it had to do with what part of the project?
There were various parts. It's a very large project, and there are we will be touching a variety of areas surrounding the port, and so the emphasis particularly is on the dredging. The scale of the dredging is large. There are very innovative techniques that are being deployed as a part of this process, including various monitoring principles that are even new for Northern Europe, which is where these are coming from, and the U.S., specifically Florida, which has a very similar ecosystem to Belize. So by applying any of these new principles, which are absolutely state-of-the-art, for example, we're using high-frequency remote monitoring buoys, and we're also proposing to use real-time satellite monitoring data, meaning that a space-mounted satellite will review and view the project and transmit data in real time of some of the information of some of the areas that we're producing. All of that is new, and so the reviewers who are approaching this sometimes require a little bit more information. So really, a lot of the focus was on those elements of the project.
The difference, and I think, Louis, you mentioned it a bit earlier, between this particular site and creating this type of project in a new site is that you already have certain elements in place. It's already a very trafficked area by large boats, not as large as cruise ships that would dock. So it already kind of has that type of activity built in. But the key part, as you said, would be the dredging for ships to actually be able to come right up to the coast. That's a lot of material that would be taken out.
That's right.
So I'd imagine that's perhaps one of the biggest areas in being able to find the best environmentally safe solution.
Absolutely. That is where our main concerns have been focused. I mean, the dredging is a large component of this project, and there's no way around that. And you know, so it's one of those things that from the very get-go, it's been clear to us that would be an area that merited a huge amount of attention on our part, which is why we undertook an enormous scope of study, arguably 200 or 300% what would be typically undertaken by a similar project under normal conditions. And we did that because we need to ensure, for our own sense of ethics and for our own long-term view of the port, that whatever actions that we take are going to be non-impactful. I mean, bear in mind that the eco elements of Belize is one of the driving factors of tourism. And that's going to be one of the driving factors of cruise tourism. So we need to make sure that everything that we do is ethically and environmentally sound. And so that's the angle that we took. So of course, it's a large dredging scope, and it's crucial to treat that appropriately. And that is why our focus has been as broad as it has been.
Now, Dan, going back to the information that has been released so far, and you've repeatedly said that the environmental study, while you've submitted it, you haven't made it public as yet. But you have clearly seen where local tour operators have been expressing concern over the project because they're saying they haven't been consulted. Have you reached out to this organization to perhaps offer some sort of clarity? Because from what you've explained so far, you haven't quite reached a point of public consultation as yet.
Well, when we talk about public consultation, we're talking about the final stage, which is a requirement of the Department of the Environment. Once the NEAC has ventilated and made their points on the ESIA that has been submitted, it then goes to public domain. In not consulting, that was one of the reasons, by the way, that the DOE sent back and asked us to go ahead and do some more social engagements. And so we don't call them consultations, but we proceeded to hold a vast number of online consultations after the SOE. But prior to that, both of our biologists and scientists had also done social engagement where they actually went in and gathered data from different organizations and individuals. Now, the organizations that I know that you're referring to right now are specifically FECTAB and the BNTOA group. And I want you to know that the consultation started when we started the media release about 2 weeks ago. And we've been going through every single area that we can do consultations. In fact, FECTAB has been, we've actually contacted them in many different methodologies. Firstly, through the BTIA, because they are a member of the BTIA. And I want to let you know that tour operators and tour guides around the country, because the Tour Operating Association are individual throughout the country. They don't have a national brand. And so many people from many parts of the country have been a part of our consultations. Following when we saw that the issue that was brought up, we have reached out to them. And we have the documentation to show where we've reached out to all of the parties that have been very public. And they've made statements that they're not interested. We actually sat in a Zoom room one day for half an hour waiting for them to attend and that sort of thing. And some of them have said that they don't necessarily want to speak with our firm. They want to speak with the developer to a large extent. We are the ones on the ground who are hired to do the economic social impact assessment along with Alan Herrera from Nextera Consulting. And so whatever information that they bring in, we definitely pass that straight through to the developer, and we get the responses and we give the feedback. It hasn't gotten to the area where it goes publicly yet, because we don't release information halfway. Once the DOE says that it's ready, and this is the norm for every development in Belize. And we would love to bring them to the table. We would love to have the conversation, because this gateway is one of the greatest benefit for them. And the reason why I'm saying this is because most of the other ports that are developed take on the Harvest Key model, that resort model where you go there and it's like an all-inclusive. This port is a gateway. You land in, and the reason why we want you to land in immediately by walking directly off of your ships is because you immediately get to go and access time on shore. And when it's on shore, it's because you're going to be going off on your different tours. This project, because of the onshore berthing, allows the visitor to have extended time on land, which means that they can go deeper into Belize's beautiful tapestry, which is why we're calling it a gateway to culture. And it widens the pie, because the size ships, the Oasis ships that can come in at this port are larger. And it means that there is going to be more opportunity and more people walking off of the port.
So,
when we looked at the numbers, it shows clearly that we're going to be having up to 5 to 6 hours is the current rate, but we're going to have 7 to 8 hours where people will be on land. In the past, when you're not able to, when you're tendering in, only 60% of the people typically come off of a ship. This will lead to 90%, which means that these operators who are talking about this right now don't realize the benefit that this will have to them. But again, I want you to go back to the fact that it's not only the tour operators, but the people of Port Loyola. And this is important, that we look at this very important part of our country and provide that social economic benefit there.
Jan, let me just get in here, because I think one of the things that you said was absolutely critical. You said that your firm has been hired as a consultant to be the social engagement liaison. And so while you've not been able to meet directly with the people who are loudest in their concerns, I think you understand where the core issue comes from. And it really just is the concern that people will lose an opportunity to make money that they've been accustomed to make money to. So what do you say, even though you've not met with them directly, what do you say to concerns that may be expressed like that from any tour operator or service provider?
May I jump in, Billy?
Yes.
Dion, I have a quick comment, which actually segues into that. I think a really interesting and compelling bit of information that needs to be considered is the fact that from a tender port standpoint, which is where Belize is currently, the major cruise lines are all switching to large format, very large passenger count vessels. And that means that at a certain stage, they will no longer be able to call at what is a true tender port, especially when it comes to hinterland access, which would be true of either the current situation or any sort of island port or anything like that that doesn't have direct mainland access, for example, Harvest Key. As we start going into these years when the cruise lines transition into those larger vessels, we will see a decline in tourism in Belize City. And that's a simple fact. So I think a very important message to those individuals who are concerned about their livelihoods, if they are cruise driven, is that moving to a shoreside project like ours is, that allows for immediate hinterland access and allows for a prolonged hinterland experience, as well as an augmentation of total passenger counts. Their business will double in size. They will have a huge amount of business coming in because there will be a much larger number of passengers coming onshore and a much longer amount of time that those passengers will be onshore. The inverse of that is that if this port is not built, or ultimately cruise lines will diminish the amount of total visits, and therefore their business will diminish. So it's not a matter of status quo versus an expanded passenger number. It's a matter of declining passenger numbers versus an expanded, long format and extensive hinterland access.
I think it's been publicly discussed, even from leaders in the tourism sector, that this is an issue that repeatedly arises as a concern from the cruise lines themselves. But let's look at what's happening currently. There are several proposals and projects that are on the table in Belize right now. So Is it feasible to be able to have 3 or 4 different cruise docks in Belize at the same time?
I honestly believe, Marlene, that we have to realize that the cruise market will determine the successful project or projects.
Okay.
The cruise lines will commit passengers to the right project. And since State Bank doesn't have those commitments, it means they may not be the right project at this point. State Bank has had a parliamentary approved act since 2014, and they still have not been able to secure any cruise line commitments. We have conducted extensive and successful vessel simulations with captains from the major cruise lines, and the captains and the cruise line executives have expressed that they're very happy with the way that they can access with the large vessel types. One of the things that's important for us to realize is, as Louis mentioned, by 2023, if we do not have the type of ports that these agencies and or operators are looking for, Belize may not necessarily be a player in the cruise ship industry beyond 2023. We don't know of the commitments received by the other projects, but I want you to know that it is typical that at this point, and what we've understood by the other grouping, State Bank, they have said that they are due to be open very soon. And we plan to open 18 months following our approval so that we can ensure that Belize's cruise industry remains intact by the cruise operators expecting full shoreside berthing for the ports by 2023. So it's very important for us to realize that we're in a race here, and we're in a race to determine if Belize stays on track as a cruise port. And that's very important for all of us to look at. Again, the market will determine where we go. And I believe Louis can add a little bit more because he's more experienced in the area of cruising, that he can add a little bit more here.
Yeah, I mean, I think when in the grand scheme of things, our view is that we have the best project, obviously, and that ultimately the cruise lines will determine which is the most successful. I think it's fair to say that we have been going through every necessary step from a scientific standpoint to develop a ethical and environmentally conscious project, but also we have gone into very deep and prolonged conversations with every one of the major cruise lines to ensure that the product that we are delivering is going to be satisfactory to them, and it's going to be a product that they wish to develop a preferential berthing. Every one of the cruise lines has indicated to us that they are 100% ready to send ships our way as soon as our port is ready to be built. We have had extremely deep conversations with all of them. We've had even very deep, I mean, we can't disclose all of those and all that information at this stage, but we've had some very deep inroads with some of the cruise lines as potential partners. So ultimately, the truth of the situation is that we're very confident that the product that we intend to deliver satisfies everything that cruise currently is seeking in terms of vessels, size of vessels to accommodate. For example, our port is being built to Oasis class, which will be the largest standard vessel currently afloat. Other parts of Belize are not accessible by Oasis. Even some of these proposed projects are not Oasis ready. They're geared towards old cruise ships. So ultimately, the goal is we are very confident that every cruise line that we've spoken to, which is all of them, have all the confidence that our project is the viable one and is best suited for their needs.
Yeah, I think you introduced what is an important element of the conversation, because what you do need to know that the cruise lines will want to come to your port. And so what you're saying is you have expressed interest so far. Of course, you can't get confirmation until the project itself is moving ahead. But looking in the current context, is this a time where it's opportune to be building for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically from a regional standpoint, it's extremely opportune. Obviously, COVID has had an impact on the industry. We've all seen that. I mean, it's been on every headline. But the cruise lines themselves, I think the approach moving forward and one of the remedies to all the issues that they've faced is to be a little bit more inward looking and look to key markets. And the Caribbean is that key market. So where cruising has been expanding globally and there's been an enormous focus in Asia and untapped markets, the current tendency will be to start looking, especially for the short and medium term, back into the Caribbean, which is the main driving force of the cruise market. There are developments, for example, in Galveston, where Oasis-class ships will be home ported. And what that means is that the Western Caribbean itineraries, which Belize is a major element of, will be that much more expanded. So this is a very opportune timing for the development. And we expect that cruise, specifically in the Caribbean, will have a boon in coming years.
And we can't miss the fact that this is actually a two-part project. We're talking primarily right now about the cruise docking facility, but there's also the port aspect. Do you want to expand on that a bit, Dion?
Yes, it's very important for us to realize that, first of all, Belize has a master plan, a master transport plan, and improved cargo handling facilities is something that in Belize, our exporters are looking forward to within the sugar, the aggregates, the fertilizers, wheat, corn. We really need to ensure that we have the proper cargo handling facilities that are state of the art, that can handle the level of exportation that this country needs to move towards. Yeah. And we've seen the challenges amidst this COVID-19. So when you ask, is this the right time? This is the right time, because we have to recover this country to its level that will take it to the point where we can actually export 500 tons of fertilizer, wheat, corn, sugar, cement, aggregates. This is our optimal drive. This is where we want to take it. On the importation side, we don't need to grow that. What we need to do is to grow the Belizean industry. And we expect that there will be users of this port from our Central American neighbors as well. This equals more jobs, not just in Belize City, but across Belize in directly related jobs, entrepreneurial opportunities, business growth in support businesses. Belize needs jobs. And besides that, we need a port that is at the standard of delivery. And that is something that we have to understand around the world, that a country that has a great port will have the ability to have a rebounded economy with greater exports. And as well, as Louis mentioned earlier, this is not a greenfield project. There will be no cutting of reefs or any, and it's actually a port gateway which is environmentally sound. So it's something that we need to look forward to, in the fact that we will be having growth in all of our industries. And the export potential of this country is great. However, we need to have the port available for that. We need the foreign exchange being brought into the country. And the only way that will be done is if we move towards assisting our local producers in being able to be internationally viable. And the only way they can do that is with having a port that can load, offload, and get them out there to market as fast as possible.
Well, you know, we'd be remiss if we didn't note the fact that the stevedores have a direct role in the port as it functions right now. And being able to have a direct onload or offload would mean that their jobs may be impacted. What is the conversation that is taking place there, especially since they have a very active union?
We don't see any layoffs occurring. In fact, the port size in itself will require more. We do see that there may be need for training and diversification. And that is where, when you're in partnership with your employees, these are the things that we can look at. We need to move out of the industrial relation area and move into the discussion of where everybody can fit into this project. One of the things that I've realized about Belize is that we tend to want to tear things down before we understand the role that we can play. We want to invite everybody to the table. The unions, the potential investors, the residents, everyone, because at the very end of it, if we cohesively move towards a project which has Belize's best interest at heart, we can actually make something happen. So I invite, and I'm not part of that area in terms of stevedores and industrial relations, but I want them to know that this project has opening for all sectors, and it is a project of national importance, and it will raise Belize's GDP, and it means that we need to all be willing to come to the table and discuss where we see our role and where we fit in so that we can be a part of this and we can be a part of the growth that Belize needs and will see in the future.
Let's move forward a bit and imagine that the project is in fact approved, it is completed. There's also a direct spin-off that takes place within the area itself. And Dion, I'm sure you guys have looked at, and Louis maybe can share some expertise as to how the community itself will become ripe for other investment opportunities.
I'm really excited about this question, Marlene, because a lot of people say, well, why would you put a port in Port Loyola, considering that, the environment, and that's one of the reasons why I'm excited as a Belizean to place the port there, because there will be a lot of spill-off opportunities. Having a major investment like that in a neighborhood automatically improves your property values. The fact that there will be a direct road that will not allow for congestion within the area, that will take you directly from the port through a refurbished Jane Usher Boulevard, straight through to the George Price Highway, for our tour operators to have access to take their tours immediately out, whichever, if they're going north or if they're going to take the Philip Goldson Highway. The reality is that for the people of Port Loyola, we see a great improvement, their ability to have businesses in the area. We see business people being willing to maybe invest and have businesses there, so that the people of Port Loyola don't need to leave their particular area to go and find employment, that they can actually work within their areas, as many of us are able to do. We really see this as a benefit for that particular area, which is one of the reasons why, like I said, our consultations are not finished yet. All of this is being amassed, and we're actually doing more engagements with the local community, because we want to find out what are their concerns, where do they see them adding value, and so we can also pass that information on to the developer so that they can see where they want to fit in. But the reality is that this project will make a big difference in that area, and I'm excited for that. As a Belizean, I've gotten tired of seeing how sad it is for the houses where there's flooding and all of these things in that area, and I'm really excited to know that there's a chance being taken on the people of Port Loyola, and they'll be able to see some benefits where many projects have not given them that opportunity in the past.
And Dion, I feel this is where the buy-in must come. It's not everybody understands that whenever there's a big industry in your particular area, it raises your property value. It raises a lot of things for you. I think when we get to understand what it raises for us, and how it helps our livelihood, then we'd buy in. But another thing about our country is that, especially being a third world, and how things are being dealt with within the country, that it provides for a lot of backlash, and people feel that there'll be preferential treatment, especially for those with the certain names. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing it out there like that. It leads me to understand, what do we have to say about the Michael Ashcroft involvement, or foreign investors that are going to be involved?
All right. Well, first things, earlier you and Marlene were talking about how we talk about our children. I really don't appreciate when people call us third world. Belize this project is a first world project being invested in a country that has potential, a beautiful tapestry, and amazing ability for aggregates, construction materials, and exports that abound. So I would, first of all, want to change that around. In terms of the Michael Ashcroft perspective, one of the things that I've often seen is that there's a lot of negativity that always surrounds that name. However, I believe that it often has to do with the fact that all of us maybe wish that we were like him, that we had the expertise, the ability to bring a project of this nature to the country, where we could donate and help to turn around the Belizean environment. But in going beyond that, we have to at some point realize that with his involvement, it means that we can bring investors to the table. It means that we can bring projects like this to the table, And it also means that we can get the attention of the cruise operators out there to this table. He is a Belizean. He came here in 1953 and went to St. Catherine's School. He is an investor in Waterloo, yes. However, there are many investors in Waterloo, and many of them are Belizean. And so what is first and foremost that we have to remember that this is a project about Belize's needs. It fits in with Belize's master transport plan for bulk handling capabilities and the need for onshore cruise terminal capabilities. And we have to realize that WIHL, Waterloo, which Mr. Ashcroft is an investor, brings sophisticated infrastructure and investors to this project. It is a strategic value that it will bring to and capital to Port Loyola becoming the gateway. Yeah. This is not limited to international investors. WIHL has many Belizeans who are investors. And again, we'd been asked this question before if Belizeans would be able to participate. And again, the developer is open to explore any options. So I want us to stop looking at attacking a person and start looking at the value of the project at a time of most need. But not only that, at a time where every country in the world is asking to reboot and restart and recover. So we're all at that level playing location. Yeah. Why don't we get out of the gate first and win this one for Belize? Win this one for our people.
Out of the gate,
get Belize on track.
Out of the gate, I think is a really critical point. My final question, Dion, is just looking at the level of optimism you, the investors, and all parties involved have about this moving forward. Because as we know, and if people will go all the way back into the archives, it is nothing new, the concept of being able to create a cruise port in that specific site. Other investors have tried. What makes you think that this one will be the one to get out of the gate?
I honestly believe that the seriousness of the Waterloo group, the environmental studies that have taken over 2 years to develop, it means that they have been focusing on key areas, and they've looked at the financial viability, the environmental possibility. They've looked at many different areas, and the environmental studies show underwater surveys, soil samples, engineering, designs, all done to ensure that the Port Loyola Gateway is sustainable and practical. There has been the full mission bridge simulation with the large vessels to ensure the safety of the channel. We want to tell you as well that the government has been extremely professional in their evaluation of the project. And we trust that we've sufficiently answered all of their questions as we move on, waiting for our MOU for both the cruise and the bulk handling facility. And we find that it is regretful right now that due to their deliberation that the government officials have had to see themselves subject to a lot of unjustifiable personal attacks on their social character. This is a project that deserves the review, definitely. And it is a development that we are ready for. And I'd like for Louis to add in his parts as to why it's important as well, because we always need to see the other side of it on the outside.
I think a cornerstone of what sets this development apart from many, many, many developments that we have been a part of is the developer's willingness to expend a significant amount of money in the pre-development phases of this project. A project's risk is directly proportionate to, it's indirectly, I'll stop with that analogy, but ultimately de-risking a project is only possible in the early phases. A developer who's willing to undertake the appropriate studies and to go through the right process and spend the necessary money to go through all of that early on when the assurances from the government aren't there, when these approved acts haven't been placed, it shows an extreme level of attention and an extreme level of developer ethics into making sure that this project is done appropriately and is done correctly. And so that is what we've seen here. We've spent 2.5 years and an enormous amount of money going through all of the necessary steps to ensure that this project is done appropriately and that it's measured, it's structured, it incorporates all of the end user requirements from the cruise lines and all that. Like Dion said, the full mission simulation is a huge element of this, which essentially creates a virtual port and places the captain of the cruise lines onto a simulated bridge where they actually navigate the vessel and berth it. None of the other projects have undertaken that. In fact, I would hazard that we've probably spent more money in our pre-development studies and engineering, which we've done to date, and detail engineering is about to commence, than likely any of the other projects that already have had all of these development assurances from government. So I think that is truly what sets this apart. And personally, in my own career, I've never seen a developer this committed to ensuring that this is done the appropriate way and de-risking the project so heavily early on in a vacuum of government assurance. So I think that for me really is what sets this apart and really guarantees its success.
All right. Well, we do appreciate both you and Dion being able to clarify just what is currently the status of the project, and thank you for sharing all the information.
Thank you very much.
All right. Do take care. And with that,
yep, we're about to take a break.
Gears.
Yeah, we're going to shift some gears, and we're about to take that break. But when we come back, we will be joined by Jenny. I love it, love it. We'll be breaking things down with Jenny when we come back.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
These are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. And now we're about to break things down with Jenny. Jenny is in with us. And I like to use that terminology because the TV is there, the screen is there, and she's right here in the studio. Jenny, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Belize.
Oh, man.
Oh,
it's
we
so
miss
nice to see
you.
I know, we miss you so much.
You guys too.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this thing when media talk about the new normal, it's never going to be normal for me, okay?
I said that, right? This is going to be our temporary normal. I refuse to accept this much distance.
I refuse to accept it.
All right, but we will make do in the matter of keeping everyone safe for now, and we are grateful for the technology to be able to have you with us to share your expertise.
Good morning again.
All right, so I'll tell you what, Jenny. There is no health without mental health. And while we've got a long weekend ahead of us, actually that's upon us, we need a Fun Friday booster. We need a Fun Friday booster. We need that booster so we could enjoy the weekend and appreciate it for what it is. So let's start there.
Yes. Listen, let me tell you, the World Mental Health Association, every year they talk about there's no help if you have no mental health. Because lots of people think that getting counseling or going in to see a mental health person, they have to be crazy or only crazy people. And when they say crazy, I mean people who are not in control of their senses, of their mental faculties. And that's not true. Ordinary people, mental health counseling, mental health discussions are for people who are everyday people who may have things that overwhelm them. You know, like this whole thing with the coronavirus. People were locked up. We lost our freedom to come out. We lost a whole lot of things. And people, ordinary folks, began to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, depression, all kinds of things happen as a result of being locked up.
Yeah.
And away from, we are beings of connection.
Yeah.
We need to be connecting with our families, with our friends. And so a lot of things came out, and I hope that now people are understanding what we mean about mental health.
Yeah. I think this has been a very big test for all of us collectively. We have been, in a sense, robbed, and robbed by this new coronavirus specifically, not anybody else to blame, of what would be our typical comforts. When something goes wrong in our life, if I have a bad day, an upsetting day, a challenge with an individual person, I had a routine that I would subscribe to cope. Sometimes that means hanging out with friends, visiting family, a great warm hug, you know, a number of different things. And pretty much all of that has been eliminated. So it means that we've all had to adjust to find, and some of us have not been able to find, coping mechanisms. And that's where I think we've just had perhaps one of the biggest challenges of our lifetime.
Yes, we've really been challenged. But you know what? We're going to come out on top.
That's right.
Here, we are going to come out on top. Today, what I'm looking at, there's this month in America has been World Mental Health Month. And so I went to their website and I took a lot of the information from there because it's there for us to share with everyone. And I love the approach they took this year. They're not looking at, you have grief, let's deal with grief. Oh, you have stress, let's deal with stress. No, they are looking at things that we do on the normal that can affect us and how we can change those things. So I really like how they looked at it this year. The first slide that I have, I'm asking folks to go and take a mental health test. They're free. And there's on the website, and the website is on when you post this, people will see it right on the slide.
Yeah.
Low mental health conditions. They have things to check for depression, to check for anxiety, for stress. If we're overstressed, there's a bunch of things on there.
Yeah.
You can take a test, and if you need to talk with somebody, there's lots of people now that you can talk to. I don't even go into all the names because a lot of people can contact the Mental Health Association if they want to get the
Uh-oh, you're breaking up on us, Jenny, and we really want to hear what you have to say.
What's causing that?
Okay, there we go.
All right, you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
So you were saying that you can take the test and you can kind of get an idea of how you're doing, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I really recommend that people take the test because we've been through hell. I'm sorry, we have been through hell.
Yeah.
We've been taken away from people that we love. We've been locked aside. I felt like I've been in prison, and so there's been a lot of things that we love to do that were taken away from us. And so yes, we're all suffering from different varying things.
Let me just get a little question in here, and it's more from your professional services standpoint. Have you found more people open to subscribing to a therapy session?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you do it online, which is even easier, right?
We've been doing it online. For me, it's a little bit harder because I like to be able to see the body, what the body reactions are.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people may say things to you, but when you look at the body language, body language really tells you what's really going on, and then you can question those things. So if they're talking to you from a phone, all you see is their face. So all I can look at are the eyes. I like to see the body, so I sense a lot of things based upon their body language.
Definitely, and of course, I think what that does when you're with that person physically, you actually build a connection, so you could better connect with the individual.
Better connection.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is, I completely agree. I do miss having people physically on the set, too.
Miss you, Jenny.
And it makes a big difference, but this is, doing things virtually is, for now, the safest option. But going back to people who've been reaching out for services, is it a lot of anxiety that you've been seeing? And is it like new people with anxiety as a result of the current pandemic?
Yeah.
New people with anxiety, new people with depression, new people who are not used to being alone.
Wow.
Oh.
Yes. It's been a number of things. Some people are now at home with husbands that they really haven't connected with, or they've lost the connection.
Yeah.
And finding out that the connection just still isn't there and probably won't ever be there. So there's a lot of awakening in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for a lot of people it's been very, very difficult,
Yeah.
So what this has done is sort of like opened up areas that needed to be looked at for some people, and others areas that we did not want to see. But it's in those ways. I think it's been healthy if you reach out and get help and discuss these things.
So if you take this test and you verify what you have been feeling, which is maybe anxiety or depression or some other feeling of being overwhelmed, you can definitely reach out to a counselor, a therapist, online, which is the safest way, and be able to just get a chance to discuss and work your way through it.
Call. There's call the Mental Health Association. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us now doing this work. Reach out to someone. There's Juliet at Port Loyola. There's the psych nurses. You can call the psych nurses. There's a lot of people out there who are willing and able to assist.
All right, so let's go back. I know I shift you away. You always tell me that. But I'm so interested in your experience. But you have some great tips for people. If they're not quite there, that they want to seek therapy, there's a lot of things we can do with the support systems we do have.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
So my next slide then, that I can't see. This is crazy.
It's connect with others.
Oh yes, that is so important. You know, we are beings of connection.
Yeah.
We're not beings that live on an island, and there are some of us like that. There's people who go on submarines, you know.
Yeah.
But the majority of us, we're beings of connection. We need to connect with others.
Yeah.
And so it's been very, very hard on a lot of people. And so one of the first things that I tell folks is connect with other people. It's so important.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm standing or I go someplace, one of the first things I tell them, I say, oh my gosh, how are you handling this mask? And we'll talk about the mask and what that's like. And we have conversations, you know. So you reach out, talk to people, start conversations.
Yeah.
I don't just wait until I see people. I send little funny things, and I try to send uplifting.
I love that video you shared the other day of the teacher with the little guitar.
Oh, that was hysterical, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I try to send things like that will brighten somebody's day, and I will call. I pick up the phone and actually call and have conversation, talk with people. My day is really busy, but I try to make sure that every day I reach out to about 5 or 6 people and have conversation.
Yeah.
We get to talking.
Yeah.
I send it, like I said, the text messages. I try to reach out on Facebook because, hey, I've become accustomed to these things now.
I know.
Yeah.
Look at you, master of video chat with the perfect background too.
Yeah.
The stuff.
But you know what, Jenny, I think you're right, you know, because even if you take a minute or two to have a conversation with somebody, it simply means that you're thinking about them, which of course is a compliment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And it makes people feel somebody cares about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you also said use shared experience, like let's talk about masks, how much we hate it, but we'll use it. Or, you know, whatever it is we're struggling with.
You know? Compliment them about something. And there's so much that I see with people. I love their earrings. I love the colors they wear. Fine, be genuinely interested in other people. And you'll find that Belizeans, we have this tendency, we love to talk to people.
Yeah.
And if you engage people, they will talk back.
Of course.
And that's what we have to do. We have to make.
I don't know about the compliments part though in our culture.
Yeah, that's true too.
I guess it's something that's, it's a learned experience.
Yeah.
I do it, and it has to be genuine now.
Oh,
yeah, it
yes.
has to be.
Yes.
It has to be. But
at
the same time, Jenny, I think one of the things that some folks need to do is to recognize that they're being complimented. Because some folks might take it a different way.
What's that?
I say, you know what I'm saying, right? Somebody compliments you, please have the decency to say, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying that.
That's a skill set, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that we teach people how to treat us.
That's true.
That's true.
People will reciprocate. Yeah. And what you do, you also teach them so they do it for somebody else. And so it's really important that we're teaching. We are teaching. We're always teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I need to jump on to the next one because
that last one though is important though. Pay genuine attention to your friend.
And like I said, you know what I do? I pick up the phone. I don't just send forwards to people. I'll send forwards for a while, and then I'll pick up the phone and I'll go, "Hey, how you doing? Haven't talked to you for a while."
Yeah.
And we'll talk, right? Because we'll connect again.
Yeah.
And it's really important not to just continue to make sense, but to actually talk with folks.
Yeah. That's true, Jen.
Genuine. Don't call them just to talk nonsense.
Yeah.
Be genuinely interested in how they're doing, because they hear that we're human beings. We need to hear it.
Yeah. You know, we've been saying for a while too, and I think it's good for us to introduce it, that it's okay that we're not okay. You know, I find sometimes I talk to people and they're just like, oh, well, just to manage, and because we know how we feel.
Yeah.
That we struggle sometimes. And so it's so hard for people to be able to express out loud, you know, it's been rough.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will tell people straight up, it has been tough.
Yeah.
I'm not used to being locked up. You know me. I'm here, there, everywhere. I'm gone all the time. And so all of a sudden, the brakes are put on, and I have to stay in this house. You know, as much as I love to read, as much as I love to listen to my music, I need to connect with other people face to face. I miss my hugs.
Yeah.
And so, yes, if people ask me, let them know exactly how I feel, and I want people to become more honest and say,
Yeah.
That's how we maintain our mental health.
Yeah.
The connection.
We can't be scared of those negative emotions.
No,
So-
it's really you can't.
Let's keep you going, because we'll keep you off track the entire while, right?
Yes, and it shut me down.
Next one is-
So the next one is
Thursday.
having a routine. Now, remember some
Okay.
weeks ago we talked about having a routine?
Mm-hmm.
And under these conditions that we're under, we really need to have a routine. Otherwise, I know people who, one of my friends sent me a picture of her putting on her clothes, and her button was over here and the other button was over here. And she's saying, oh my God, I'm 1 pair of feet away. So it's, if we're not careful, we will gain a lot of weight. If we're not careful, we'll pick up eating disorders. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we can do that can happen during the course of this time if we're not careful. And so having a routine is important. You know, you set a time that you will wake up and make breakfast for yourself, if you're by yourself, or make food for the family. And what's your routine? Then I'm going to exercise, or I'll exercise first and I'll get that. But have a routine and put it on paper.
Yeah.
Paper so that you stick to it. Make sure you put in.
I was really hoping that you would tell us it's okay for our mental health, all this excessive snacking that we've been doing. I don't understand where it comes from. We could have, you can have control most of the time, but somehow this pandemic just makes us feel like it's okay.
Yeah.
Is it just me?
No, it's
Don't
everybody.
leave me alone here, right?
It's everybody.
Okay.
It's everybody. It's there, so we want to eat it.
Comfort food. We're comforting ourselves using food. And if you watch the things that you eat, it's going to be like your chocolatey kinds of things, the soft gooey foods, or it's going to be the salty things like chips and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are called comfort foods, but we have to limit it. I'm not saying stop, but you've got to really limit how much of it.
My pants might be saying stop, but yeah. But I wanted us to acknowledge that we're all doing it, because I know some people are hard on themselves about it.
All doing it. Yeah. But what I've done, part of my routine, I make sure I'm exercising every day.
Okay.
Of course.
I set aside an hour and a half every day, and I exercise. It's not because I'm disciplined. I have a coach.
Oh, your trainer is still making sure you get in your exercise.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have someone pushing me. Yeah. The other thing, there's lots of programs on the YouTube, on different programs. They're free.
Yeah, they're free.
Make use of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're still all free. Make sure you also have fun things that you do, okay? Like there are shows on television, Netflix right now is still free, I think. CBS has a lot of programs for free. You want to learn something, but make a routine so you're not just sitting around. Now, those people who have to work from home, right? Mm-hmm. You also want to make sure that you take breaks, because sometimes working from home, you get in front of that computer and you just go. But you also have to remember you're in front of blue lights, so you've got to rest your eyes. Yeah. You've got to get up, stretch, make sure that you walk around, get a drink. So set a routine.
Yeah.
But bit by bit, really important, you must set a routine.
And that includes sleep too, right?
Pardon?
That includes sleep too.
Sleeping and exercise.
Gosh. We have to get sleep, because sleep sleep will affect your immune system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not getting enough sleep, that's when your body repairs itself when
Yeah.
when you sleep at night, right?
That's right. That's right.
You've also got to get in the adequate number of hours so that you go into REM sleep so the body can repair itself. Really critical. Thanks for reminding me about that, Mike.
Okay.
Now, we want to talk about loss. And I love what he says, what they say on the website. After the loss, you need to look for the positives. Everybody at some point in their lives goes through loss. Loss. You know, I lost my bag. I lost this really expensive bag with all my IDs. Or I lost my puppy. She died because of whatever. We've all gone through some loss. And then we have the death of loved ones, you know? Job losses, relationships fall apart. You find out that your husband is cheating or your boyfriend is cheating. That's a loss, right? The thing is that we help ourselves to recover mentally and emotionally when we look for the positives. Maybe that I wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
There's probably somebody out there, not probably. Buses, if you take a relationship with buses, you may have been on a bus that didn't have air conditioning. You sit down and you wait, and another bus comes along, it's air conditioned. It's got nice seats.
You trade in the regular bus for the deluxe.
Deluxe, yeah, with TV.
Then you know, the other bus comes along and they've got a television on it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we sometimes we grieve and we want to hang on. And if something is over, it's over. We grow from it and we learn how to move on and start again.
That's right. That's right.
That's what life is about.
But let's look at the other one though, because losing loved ones with death,
Death.
during this time
Hard.
is so I
It's
can't
hard.
imagine it.
Because you can only have 10 people, and if your family is bigger than 10, what happens?
Yeah, and you don't have. I mean, it's just how we mourn people in Belize. It's a very community-oriented event.
That's right.
Yes, it is.
And I think, you know, we all take the time to talk about stories about the loved ones and remember the great times, and all of that is just eviscerated for right now.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's the thing. When we have, well, recently wakes have been different. They're parties. But wakes used to be that you go by and you sit down and you remember the good things about this person.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the crying. The crying happens like the first couple of days, and then at the wake, people come by and they talk with you and remind you about their experience with the loved one that you lost. And so this gives you opportunities to learn new things. My aunt, one of my aunts, her son died Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, and she didn't know. They were looking for him, and he was in the dead house, you know, the morgue, and nobody knew who he was. And so she really had delayed mourning, right? But then all these people started sending her pictures of their experience with him.
Yeah.
All over the world. I mean, it has been such a blessing because she had no idea all the things that he was engaged in. And brings to mind my son. You know, he has a life where he is, and so all these people, all the nice things, their interactions with him. So we have to bring those things to them. Yes, but also need to look for the positives to learn.
Of course.
I think you're cracking up
Yeah.
again, Jenny, and I don't want to lose what you're saying.
Hey, Rick, fix it, Rick, fix it.
I do wish it was that easy, but you're back now. It just seems to have some temporary breaks in between.
Yeah.
I guess it's technology's way of saying, okay, we got to move ahead.
So, fast facts. I want to read the fast facts for you. Healing takes time. Following a loss, nearly half of the people said it took up to 6 months for the strong feelings of grief to listen. And then the other thing, if you've had a loss, you actually feel it physically when you lose a person. People talk about having pains in their heart and pains in their legs, and you actually, and scientifically they've proven that people actually have a genuine hurt and ache associated with that loss. Okay, the next topic then, the next thing we need to look at are the toxic people in our lives.
Yeah.
Don't we all have toxic people in our lives? So, fast fact, 80% of Americans, there was a thing that they did, 80% of the people reported having suffered emotional abuse sometime in their lives.
Yeah.
Approximately 3/4 of U.S. employees have had a toxic boss. What does that tell you? Toxic friends are common. 84% of women and 65% of men report having a toxic friend at some point in their lives. Think of that.
Yeah. Reality. It's the reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you know who's a toxic friend? Well, these are people who let's see, where am I? These are your friends who put you down. They find ways to put you down. They invalidate everything about you. They're your friend. They'll hug and kiss you and come and hang around, but they will invalidate you to your face. You know? They are also they will downplay you. They'll judge. They're judgmental.
Yeah.
So think about your friends, the ones who are very judgmental about what you wear or how you look. Why are you wearing that? Oh, that doesn't look good on you. And how great you feel, right? Or they're negative about everything you do. Passive aggressive. They're not going to be aggressive and come and tell you, yell at you. What they'll do are passive aggressive things. The things where, again, they kind of downplay you or they'll make snide comments to you. They are self-centered. These are not people who listen to you or try to find out how you're doing. They want to tell you about themselves and what's happening in their lives all the time.
They're controlling too.
That's the big one, and that's a scary one too, because when you have a friend or maybe a lover or a husband who is controlling, they are going to try to make sure that you don't have access to friends, family, money, so you are stuck there with them. So you've got to look at relationships that you're in and see who's toxic, because that contributes to your decrease and decline in mental health.
That's so interesting, though, those numbers, because they're pretty high percentages, which means that we keep these people in our lives.
Yeah.
Why do we?
Don't we? We do, don't we?
Why? I mean, if it's your employer or your work colleague, that's an uncontrollable. You can deal with it or leave your workplace. Like, there's two options there. But why do we keep friends like that?
You know, it's a lot of it's what we're telling ourselves. It's what we're telling ourselves about that person. Some people believe that we really need that person in our lives, you know, because, well, they have lots of friends, and if they go, because when you break up with a friend, sometimes it's like a divorce. You lose everybody.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Go with her, who are your friends.
But that person, the manipulative ways of that person makes you feel, or that person makes you feel like you deserve them in your life because of the things that they do. So you feel like life is not perfect without that person in your life. They're just manipulating your mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Read the little quotes that I have next.
Oh,
Read
they're
that one
cold.
It's so
Jenny, they're cold.
Look a peep on it, Jen.
It says, it's so nice when toxic people stop talking to you. It's like the trash took out itself.
Oh.
Cold.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
It says, beware the person who stabs you and tells the world they're the one who's bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't people like that?
So yeah, we definitely do. And so what you're saying is you have to pay attention to those who may be actually negatively affecting your mental health.
That's right.
And pay attention to how you feel as a result of those relationships.
Yes. We pay attention, and we know, but we hesitate to do something about it for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on quickly, owning your feelings. You know what? And I catch myself doing it all the time when people say, "You made me mad." I didn't make you mad. You made yourself mad. I may have done something that made you
didn't like.
I didn't make you mad. You got yourself mad yourself.
Man, I think this would be such a great practice. If this would be something to go viral, I've tried it with my sisters and of course my the little ones in the family. But trying to use words to describe how you feel beyond happy, sad, mad, fine.
The English language has
hard. We're so conditioned. It's like, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay, I'm sad, I'm angry. But there's so much more.
Yes, that's how we're socialized.
So how are you feeling today, Jenny? What are your descriptive words?
I am feeling exuberant.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Okay. All right. Is that because it's Friday or because of us?
I get to see my darlings. I don't get to hug you, but I get to see you. If anybody's wondering why I look cross-eyed, I'm looking at a blank screen. I have to turn.
Okay, so we got to keep it moving. Stephanie has given us the warning. We're running out of time.
I wanna read this one. People who are good at being specific about identifying and labeling their emotions are less likely to binge drink, less likely to be physically aggressive, less likely to self-injure when distressed. And here is a ding, ding, ding for you. When school-age children are taught about emotions for at least 20 to 30 minutes per week, their social behavior and school performance improves. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, number 5. This is the last one. Owning or feelings. I always tell people, own that. When you say something, what they feel like, say, you know how when you do this and you do that and it comes out there in the third person? No, own it. Say I feel. Own your feelings. People notice in our country and world, we don't want people to feel. It's like people are afraid of feelings, right? Allow yourself. They tell people, allow yourself. Big girls don't cry. Man up.
Yeah.
Big girl panties and face up.
Yeah.
But feelings are part of the human experience. Don't accept things.
Okay, but what's the fine balance there? And I think that's a critical part, because let's look at it's a heavy time. Let's not just fluff it, right? You're facing job loss, you're facing major financial strains for some people. If you're an employer, you're worried about letting go employees. Those employees have families. If you are a breadwinner and you can't provide enough, and especially men, we don't talk enough about how men are impacted by financial loss.
Yes.
So how do you acknowledge these emotions and not have it move into a negative path? Just how this can spiral very much out of control when you think of the mounting pressures that people are feeling.
Okay, before I answer that, I need to just say something about this pressure cooker right next door. You said, a lot of us, what we do, we bottle and bottle and bottle, especially guys.
Yes.
Men feel like they have to take it on their shoulders because their woman is not supposed to know what's going on with them. The thing is that with a pressure cooker, you have that little thing on top. the pressure cooker works on the whole idea of steam. You put a little bit of water and you put the food in there, and that water builds up steam. That's what happens in our bodies. When we stuff with no way of letting that off, that pressure cooker will go up, the lid will come off, all the stuff will come out of it. For us, if we don't
it's
have
big, loud, and messy.
Big, loud, and messy.
Very messy.
And dangerous.
Very, very, very. And that in a human being may come off as a blow up where they just beat up on somebody, or they go to their job with a gun, or somebody just goes totally overboard. That little thing on top, right, is the valve for letting some of that steam off. In a human being, you exercise, you go run, you get rid of that, like that.
You talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
You ask for help.
Yes, you go get help. You go talk to someone at the bank or the credit union about how you can lower payment. You go out and you let somebody know that this is becoming too much for you.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm telling you, with everything that we've gone through and are going through, and rightly, like you said, Marlene, we have people out here who have huge mortgage bills and
of course,
all kinds of things. And the inconsistencies of not knowing whether or not you're going to retain your job. These folks have got to do something for themselves. If you don't want to go running, you don't want to go out there and talk to somebody, get up and write down feelings. Use a journal. Write it down. Nobody else has to see it. You can read it and realize, okay, what I think I need to get some help.
This is where I was.
One thing. Just let me ask one thing. So we know especially the situation can be critical with men with mental health. And so I think you told us, or maybe I read it, just how financial loss can be one of the most devastating impacts on men specifically. And because they're not very expressive, and because they're not accustomed to talking about feelings, and they may be very much that pressure cooker that you're talking about, what does the support system do? What can the family do? What can the spouse do to help to relieve some of that pressure? Because that can be devastating consequences.
Yes, it can. And see, men don't want to think that their wives, they don't want to talk to their wives a lot of times. But if you're close to your spouse, you really need to sit and talk to your spouse about how you're feeling. All right? You've got to let her know what the kind of pressure you're handling. Chances are maybe she can get up and do some stuff to help, right? But you've got to let her know what's going on, because I'll tell you, I am grateful that we have not had the number of suicides I was worried might happen as a result of all this, because there's a lot of people out there who are living on the very edge. And I'm putting out a call, please come see one of us, come talk to us if you don't want to burden your spouse. Come see somebody. Come talk it through. We don't judge. We're not going to look at you and think that, oh, we're judging you. No, we're not. But it's really critical that you get the help that you need. Okay? There was a suicide this week. Wow. I'm really surprised that there's only been that one. I mean, one is a lot, but that's a lot of folks cannot handle the stressor, the overwhelming stressors that they
we're losing you. We're losing you. Yes, that was a very unfortunate story, which was why I wanted to kind of just be able to introduce that we all deal with things differently. And
yes, our men are not socialized to talk about feelings. They're not socialized to talk about things that are bothering them. They feel like they're the man of the house and they're supposed to handle it on their shoulder. And sometimes it's too much. It really is too much, and that pressure cooker and nothing, there's no steam coming out of the top of that pressure cooker. And sometimes when it blows, they turn it on themselves rather than turning it out on somebody else. And that's when suicides occur. And so it's really critical for the family members, if you know this is happening with your husband, with your father, find some way of getting them to talk with you, being empathetic, being loving, being supportive as much as you possibly can. Because this is really concerning when this sort of thing happens, because there's a lot of people out there on the edge, and we don't want to have any copycats.
But this is when, this is Jenny, this is when, and I'm talking from a husband standpoint here, whereby you really know that person, or how to curb a conversation so that that individual could be comfortable. Because if you're going to talk to me about the finances, especially knowing the hardship that we're going through, they can be a blow up there. So I say these to husbands, and I say this to husbands, and I say this to wives. Learn each other. Know how to talk to each other. Know how to curb a conversation so it doesn't go into something that we don't want to. Because, like we mentioned, having this pressure cooker situation, blowing steam can hurt. It can burn, and it can really do damage to a relationship and to lives. That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, I think, your male perspective is right. And I know we shifted again, but I really think that that's something worthwhile to discuss. Jenny, how do you change a situation? I mean, I know we always talk about gratitude and being happy for the things that we do have, especially when there's a lot of loss. And, we can very much be grateful that we didn't see the large extent of loss from COVID-19. But when you're facing eviction or mounting bills or cutting off of electricity, whatever it may be, just what can you do to kind of keep your nose above the surface? Because it's hard, and we can't diminish how hard it is for people out there.
I really recommend that people go to the bank. Go start off there. Go to the bank. We'll talk at home first, hopefully with your spouse.
Yes, have the conversation first.
And I'm begging spouses to please be supportive, be understanding. It may not be in your nature to be like this, but I'm begging you, find it deep and find it. Because you have no idea what your spouse is going through, particularly if they are the breadwinner. And they have this over their heads that they have no idea if they will have a job tomorrow.
How it's going to be.
That's real. That's real.
Then you've got the kids who they want something, they don't understand the situation, and that could be a pushover as well. I'm not a pro. But I'll tell you, and I think that you and Marlene, Jenny, you guys said it perfectly a while ago. The first thing for me as a spouse, again, it's two of us need to sit down, get a pen, get a paper, and write down what could be our chances. Remember, COVID-19, so there's loss of life, there's loss of job, there is electricity, there is house note or mortgage. What can we do? So this is where the numbers need to come into play. Jot down 1, 2, 3, and then move to our importance, Jen. It's very hard. It's tough.
Prioritize. You have to prioritize. You really will have to budget.
Yeah.
If you have something coming in, budget, but you have to go talk to these people and let them know. I've been very consistent in paying of my bills. I need some tolerance right now until we get past what we're going through right now. But I need help, and I'm sure even the hardest person out there has to understand that we're all going through this right at this moment. We're all going through it,
All right.
Okay.
It is a tough time. I know Stephanie's probably giving
she is dancing like
jacks.
Yeah.
Let me hurry.
Okay. I think she's giving you 1 minute more. That's it.
Serious. So let's skip over some things. For emotional realities, this is really important for me. Other people cannot anchor you. you make yourself angry.
Yeah.
Depress you. Other people cannot depress you. You make yourself feel bad, okay?
Yeah.
Who can offend you? You take offense. Okay? Nobody can hurt your feelings. Your thoughts about the situation, right, creates your bad feelings. We need to take responsibility for the things that we do to ourselves, okay? You are not responsible for how others choose to feel. Others are not responsible for how you choose to feel. There is freedom when we take responsibility for our own triggers. And then the last thing I have here is your mental health is more important than that test you need to take, baby. That interview that you are going to, the lunch date that you have, the meeting, the family dinner, the grocery store run you need to make. You need to take care of yourself first. Otherwise, you will have nothing to dig for when you want to help somebody.
That's right. All right, Jenny, we are out of time. We covered a lot. We do appreciate you sharing all the tips that you did today. We just all need to prioritize our mental health in whatever way works best for us.
And again, there are lots of us out here. Contact somebody. Things are becoming overwhelming. Contact somebody. Contact us, okay?
All right.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
All right. Go ahead and take that break now. And when we come back, we'll be talking about what the National Festival of Arts looks like in 2020. So stay tuned.
These are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Just jump right back on.
Yeah, where'd it go on?
Y por eso es muy importante lavarse las manos.
¡Hooray!
Es importante lavarse las manos, así que sigue estos pasos para hacerlo bien.
Primero,
Encienda la llave del agua y humedezca las manos.
Segundo.
Use jabón en las manos y frote.
Tercero.
Enjuague las manos por completo.
Cuarto.
Ahora que sus manos están limpias, use una toalla de papel para tocar y apagar el agua.
Quinto.
Seque las manos con una toalla de papel.
Hooray.
Sigue estos pasos cada vez y mantendrás alejados los gérmenes. Así que recuerda, la mejor manera de combatir los gérmenes es lavarse las manos.
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. It is a lovely Friday morning and it's a fun Friday. So what a way to tell you about much more that we've got to offer. We've got a final topic coming up. It's the National Festival of Arts 2020 and we've got the folks in to tell us all about it. Kim Vasquez is in with us. She is the Youth Development Officer at the Institute of Creative Arts. We also have Yoelvis Medero Lunar, who is a music teacher at Allegro Music School, and Darlene Usher, who's a student at that school. Guys, good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
All right. It's so great to see you guys.
I know, right?
All right, Kim, I am so interested in this. So schools shut down, and I know one of the most critical part of arts development is having them get on stage for that Festival of Arts. And you guys had to make quick decisions as to how you'd follow through, if you'd follow through. So
Yes.
Tell me about that process.
Today would have been the opening ceremony for the National Festival of Arts. And so today is a bit of a bittersweet day, but at the same time, we're so pleased with the success of the virtual Festival of Arts this year. As you said, we had to make a quick decision as to what we would do. And even when I could not conceive what I would do, I knew I had to do something because we cannot break the momentum of the Festival of Arts. And children more than ever need positive experiences right now, and they need a way to tap into their emotions and to be able to express themselves.
Yeah.
Quite a number of the entries we've had this year, both in artwork and in poetry, as well as some of the performances, have been children and youth expressing how they feel about COVID-19, about the quarantine, through either song or dance or poetry or artwork.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I think, you know, when I saw that you were launching it virtually, I said, this is perfect. I mean, it's not going to be the grand production that I know parents and teachers work towards on stage, but just giving kids the opportunity to showcase their talents from home. How surprised have you been in terms of the response that you've gotten?
Very surprised and very pleased. We took as our theme this year, creative resilience. Social media is our stage. And the reason why I zeroed in on that resilience, like I said, it's not the same. It's not the stage. Nothing can ever compare to the bright lights and the glamour and the glitz of a live performance. But that doesn't take away from sharing your performance. As artists, we want to share. It's called the expressive arts because we share. We want to express and we want to make a connection. And we believe that even with social distancing, we can bridge that through social media. We can use social media as a stage. And I think, like I said, I latched on to that word resilience because the change is still happening. It's going to continue. And we don't know what will happen. But we need to build resiliency in children and youth, and we need to be having that discussion. And one of the ways is for them to see that, yes, I cannot do things the old way. We may get it back, but in the meantime, how can I overcome or how can I transcend what appears to be a challenge and make it into something positive at the same time?
Yeah, but you know, Kim, people are looking at, for the most part, looking at COVID-19 as the worst thing ever in terms of changing lives. But this could be the start of a good thing, especially doing creative arts online. Are we seeing some new acts from children? Are we seeing new children taking part? Because some folks are shy.
Yes, this is very true. Another thing that I'm noticing is that I think a large part of the Festival of Arts, the effort fell on the shoulders of the teachers.
Yes.
And now we are seeing parents for the first time, and
Yes.
that's why one feature we have is that I try to be as accessible as I can on the Facebook page, because I tell parents, if you need advice, if you need tips, just message me and I will try to see how I can help you, because some of them feel that they can do it. I'm going to put a dance together, just send me the entry form, and then halfway through they go, this is harder than what I thought.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that it's this kind of effort, you know.
Yeah.
But when we see the final product on stage, even as parents, after weeks and weeks of preparation, we didn't realize what teacher was going through behind the scenes, right? And so I think parents have definitely become more involved. And I think that also I'm surprised to see that the older children and the youth are empowered now to reach out and say, listen, I want to do something.
Yeah.
And I'm getting, you know, they're so cute. They get in the inbox and they answer, Miss Tarifa, they ask like so much question. And I say, no, it's okay. Go ahead and ask away, right?
Yeah.
So it's a pleasant surprise.
When we're watching a little dancer right now, who has an outdoor backdrop. I mean, that's the level of creativity that we're seeing. And, you know, if I think about this video, like I'm watching it and she is looking into a camera, most likely being held by a parent. And just that moment itself is such a powerful moment that you're contributing to in creating this opportunity. How does it actually work? So the submissions are made and then you post them.
Yes.
What is the process after that?
You are, of course, required to follow social distancing norms. We want everyone to be safe.
Yeah.
We are encouraging everyone, of course, to try to keep costs down at home. We know that these are very trying times, so we are telling you, recycle whatever costume you've had from previous years. Yeah. Or make one with what you have at home, or use your yard for a stage.
Yeah.
Or if you want to put up some balloons on the wall and pretend that you have a stage at home, you can do that.
Yeah.
But also that we want you to understand that this is meant to be a less pressure experience. The focus is more on the experience. So the process is that you make your video and then you get your entry form and you send us the video and you send us the form back completed, and then we make our program. Yeah. It's not in the order. Some parents get very nervous. They say, hey, I sent an entry, but you have to understand that even when we have the traditional Festival of Arts, we pull from all the different, it's not sequential. We're making a program, so we try to have a little bit of everything. We try to have dance, music, drama. And so everybody that submits will be showcased. That's for certain.
Oh, wow.
Lovely.
So everybody's going to have their video featured on Niche and Ika's Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then for the creative writing and the artwork, we are going to be launching a publication in the first week of June. And because we don't want them to feel like, okay, it's only the performing arts that is getting the focus, but we want to do something equally special for the poetry and the artwork and the short stories that have been coming in. And again, we're seeing a lot of children tackle the theme of isolation and quarantine and COVID-19 through short stories, through poetry, and through their artwork.
You know what we're doing here? Being at home, give them the ability to write. Like I mentioned, a lot of people would normally hide behind the pen and paper, which of course is not a bad thing. So that's definitely a good thing. But Kim, I want to get Yoelvis in along with Darlene. I want to get these guys in because Yoelvis being a music teacher at Allegro Music School. Where is Allegro Music School and what goes on there?
Hi, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Allegro Music School is in Belmopan. I'm also a music teacher at Eden High School in Santa Elena, so it's both of my works. Yes, we are located in Belmopan. We are a music school that have a few teachers working with us and different instruments, music theory, concerts, recital, normal music school business.
Man.
So how did you get your students involved in the Festival of Arts?
Well, I have the privilege to have this lady on the side, Luis, sending information, sending entry forms, asking us to tenantry forms every year for the Festival of Arts. I've been working in Festival of Arts for the past 8 years, as well as an adjudicator for the primary Festival of Arts in the Cayo district. So every year our students look forward to being Festival of Arts, and this year was not less. And for months we have been working for Festival of Arts. So when this situation with COVID-19 arrived, we were like, what? Well, all the songs that we have ready, all the performances. So this is definitely a great idea for all those students that were ready way before to participate in Festival of Arts 2020.
So was it easier having them perform individually and being able to video it? Was it less pressure for them?
Actually, yes, it was less pressure, and that is also something that I'm experiencing in my online class in Zoom, just like this. This is our new normal for Allegro. I think the students are way more comfortable behind a phone camera or a computer camera, and they actually engage a lot more. I have a student submitting entries for Festival of Arts this year that before, to get a video recorded to post in our social media for Allegro, it was trouble. And now they're like, yes, I can do this right at home. I got my background, I'm ready to perform. So it was a lot easier than being in person.
So you get to see their pure talent and not the ones that are the victims of stage fright.
Yes, I always tell my students, because when students come to a class, they're always like, oh, but I practiced this week and it sounded perfect at home. And then I always tell them, well, now it's the perfect situation because you're always at home, so it should sound perfect all the time.
So you have one of your students with you right now?
Yes, I have Darlon Osher. He's one of my voice students since he's like very small.
Darlon, where are you? Let's see you.
Hello. Good morning.
Good
morning, Darlon. How old are you?
I am 18 years old and I'm about to be 19 here in July.
And how long have you been doing voice lessons?
It's about maybe 7 or 8 years or so, pretty much.
Wow. Yeah. So that the aim is to be a professional singer?
Yes, I want to pursue a career in music. Not necessarily just voice, but instruments, other stuff like that, yeah.
Okay. I guess we should look out for you for KTV, the remix. I'm just saying. But tell us about what made you want to pursue music?
Well, music for me is something that's really beautiful. It's kind of like a getaway. It's really something that I go to whenever I, feel any type of way.
Yeah.
If I'm down or if I'm happy, then, I just go to my music. And it's something that I noticed from a young age that I have that talent and gift for. And then it's also one of the many ways that I'm able to show what God has given me. It's one of my talents. So I always use it to glorify Him.
So what about your personal experience? You've been doing music school through video technology, and I think you're going to sing for us this morning, right? You can't come on and say you've been training for 7 years and not sing something for us.
Yeah.
But before you get into the performance, tell us has it been a comfortable transition for you being able to use the current technology to work with your teacher and even perform your music?
Well, contrary to popular belief, I would prefer being in classes with him, but at the same time, it's a new experience, and it's definitely one that but I can say in all that it's something that I kind of like as well, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Kim, let me be clear. Are you doing all ages for Festival of Arts?
Yes, we are. We are doing from the age of 3, right up until the age of 21, which is the parameters for the Festival of Arts. Yeah. And let me just mention something about Darlon. Darlon is one of the Festival of Arts, what we call the Festival of Arts babies at Niche, because he actually grew in the Festival of Arts, and we would look out for Darlon every year. And we would always say, wow, we see the improvement. And last year, he took away a prize in the secondary schools competition for his vocal performance that he did last year. So we were so excited when we saw that entry form come in last week, and we said, okay, yes, we were looking out for him to see if he would perform.
Excellent, man.
You're just putting the pressure on him now for this performance, because now we have to see this talent that has been shining on the Festival of Arts stage. Let me just ask though, Darlin, as you get older, in primary school especially, there's a lot of effort for children to participate in Festival of Arts. And then high school, it becomes kind of more of a self-initiative. Just what keeps you motivated to go back to that stage?
Well, I think I've always been called to the stage. And I know that, my mom, she supports me in everything, and she's always like, okay, so will you join this year, And when I just entered high school, I was kind of, I didn't know that there was a high school Festival of Arts. I had always thought it was only up to primary school. And so the first year, I believe, or the first 2 years, I didn't actually join in the Festival of Arts. And then it was until last year that I actually entered, because I had been aware of it. And so that's how I kind of, I always go back though. I always go back. It's something that I love, and it's definitely something that I'll always be drawn to.
So you miss that audience in front of you.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer for me.
Darlin, do you have any musical people that you follow? Who would you like to become? I know you'd like to be Darlin, but there must be people that you admire in the music industry.
Yeah, I have a lot. It really ranges. It depends on
the genre.
Typically, what you're talking about, because, like, for instance, I play many instruments as well as singing.
Cool.
So, like, if it's a musician, then I have a lot, and if it's a vocalist, then I also have many. But I think one of my main inspirations is probably Michael W. Smith, who is also one of the reasons why I sang this song. He sang it and did a rendition of it, and so.
Why make us start, man?
Let's check it out, all right? So you'll do a live performance for us?
Yes.
All right. It's your stage. Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear relieved. How precious that grace appeared the hour I first my chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. His word
are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace.
Clear to see take classes. Yeah.
Oh, this is grace, yeah. Oh, it's like a flood. His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace.
Man, I points, I swear.
Right.
I swear.
Beautiful.
Oh my goodness, darling! I'll tell you what. Clearly, you've been doing your work. You've been definitely, you definitely got into it. You know, one of the things that I learned from a UFC fighter, McGregor, who is one of the top ones, he said, "This is not talent. This is hard work." And clearly, darling, that is what you've been up to over the past years that you've been singing. Congratulations to you in terms of your vocals, in terms of how you're putting things out. And you have a band in the background, right?
I love that. We see Kim's proud face. Where's Yolvis's proud face? So I think this is just a classic example of, you know, why or young people or children need to be given the opportunity to show the amazing talent that they have.
Excellent, excellent.
Kim, or can you still put forward submissions at this time?
You surely can. We are taking submissions right up until the last day of the month of May. You can.
Perfect.
And you've already started posting. Is there a schedule to posting so people know when to go back and see what's the latest that the kids are up to?
Yes, we post on Saturdays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m.
All right.
Yes, and they're spaced out, and we have between 3 to 4 entries on each of those showcase days, and we space them out because we want people to watch them over and over. That's the beauty of social media too, you know, is that you can watch that performance right back to back over and over, and then you can. We want you to share
them. You tell your friends, watch this child, watch this guy, watch how he sings.
If there's anything I want the viewers to take away this morning is to please, when you watch those videos, I know you enjoy them because we can see the views happening behind the scenes, but we want you to share them. We want you to like them and share them widely on social media.
Excellent. All right.
Have any of the videos been picking up a lot of views?
Oh yes, definitely. We are seeing whereby I think some people go like, wow, you know, or the comments, wow, I didn't know Belizean children have this kind of talent. And we've been saying this for years, you know, arts education happens in Belize. We have fantastic teachers like Yoelvis. But what the Festival of Arts does is that it creates a platform for Yoelvis and his students. And that's why we, like I said, we cannot afford to lose that momentum. The education and the work, Darlon and many others like him put in that work for years. But they want a platform, they want an audience. And so that's why, like I said, even though we're going virtual this year, we need to make that appeal that you tune in and that you like and that you share and that you leave a positive feedback for them when you watch the videos.
Are they going to be adjudicated as they typically are?
That's a good question. At first we had said we were not certain. We did not want to go into this putting any, when we made this decision, it was at the height of the fear and everything. And so we did not want to put undue, all the experts were telling us do not put any extra pressure or burden on children and parents right now. So we did not mention that word adjudication at all because it tends to change what children want to do. And so we're keeping it that way. But I will say that the adjudicators, the senior adjudicators are following the performances, and we may go back and decide what we will do to recognize the outstanding ones. But all of them will still receive their certificates as they have traditionally every year in the past.
Oh, that's awesome. Definitely. So which page do we go to see these videos?
You go to the Belize Festival of Arts page and also the Institute of Creative Arts page. It goes live on the Belize Festival of Arts page, and a few minutes later it goes on the Institute of Creative Arts page.
Awesome.
Excellent job.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you guys so much for sharing the work that you've been doing. Thank you, Darlan, for sharing your talent. Thank you, Elvis, for your dedication. And thank you, Kim, for allowing us to see just what all the amazing talent that our children have across the country.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
And from amazingly talented children to a science lesson.
That's right. It's actually time for Kids Time. Get the kids in front of the television, please. You're going to love what they're about to learn. Now, courtesy J&W Shopping Mart, Dr. Binox will take us on a tour of the wonders of the universe and teach us what are comets. So here we go.